Reality is not what it seems. The story you're about to hear is weird, not necessarily scary, just weird. It's particularly strange because even though it doesn't seem like it, everything I'm about to say is 100% true. Whether you believe me or not, that doesn't change that this happened to me, and I may never fully recover from it. On February 8th, it was a normal evening. I was playing with my two sons and getting them ready for bed. We tucked them in bed and kissed them goodnight and told them we loved them. After that, my wife Brianna and I went downstairs to watch a new show that we had just started. After a few episodes and drinks, we decided it was time to go to bed. We got ready for bed and headed upstairs. We were on our phones for a few minutes and then told each other we loved them and then drifted off to sleep. We often had this routine. We would put our boys to bed, hang out, have some drinks, watch our shows, get ready for bed, then go to bed. This continued as usual until my wife and I had an argument. This was not any normal argument. This was the kind where she packed up the kids and took them away from me. I fell into despair as I lost touch with my children over the span of a couple of weeks. My family currently lived in Pennsylvania, and when I couldn't contact my children, I moved back to be with my family. I would take this time to myself. I wasn't working, and I would often go on hikes alone to grieve the loss of my adored family. I even went on a week-long vacation by myself to Florida, where I would often just sit on the beach and stare at the waves. It was here that I found healing. I returned to Pennsylvania to continue with my life. I started a job where I would go to work for shift work at a factory my mum was currently working for. I would finish my work and return home. I would constantly be checking Facebook to see how my kids, and now ex-wife, were doing. I saw they were happy, so that made me happy, but I knew I would never be able to see them again. After a few weeks of living back home, I ran into a best friend who I had a crush on in high school. I asked if we could hang out sometime like we used to. She was awfully quick to jump at the opportunity to be friends again. She had recently been divorced and, like I said, I had a crush on her then, and she was still very beautiful. After a few times hanging out and spending time with each other, I wanted closure and answers to questions I'd had for many years. I asked her if there was ever anything more than friendship between us, or if I had read into things more than I should have. She had been there through one of the darkest times of my life. My parents announced their divorce the day after I graduated high school, and I had all but left home as a result. I spent time amongst best friends' homes, and hers was one of them. She saw me at all my low points. I was even suicidal, and she still showed me compassion then. When I asked her if there was anything more between us, she said there was. I asked if she would go on a date with me, and she said yes. One date led to another, and after a month or two, we were in love. I even proposed, and she said yes. I know that was quick, but I felt like I'd known her for 15 plus years, so it didn't feel like a quick decision. After proposing, I was on cloud 9. I'd lost one life I'd adored, but now I was starting a new life with someone who meant a lot to me too. As I climbed into bed, I thought about where my life was headed, and I felt excited for the first time in months. I closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep. After a few hours of sleep, I was awakened to the sound of children. This wasn't the sound of children in a haunting way. This was happy. They were playing. As I started to come to, I realized that I recognized them. They were my children. They were my boys. I quickly opened my eyes. To my surprise, I wasn't in my parents' house anymore. In fact, I wasn't in Pennsylvania anymore. It was February 9th, 2023, and I was back in my home. I was lying next to my wife. I was listening to my boys playing in their room. Somehow, in a single night, I'd experienced an alternate reality where I lived out around 3 months of a played-out scenario in a dream. Don't get me wrong, I was overjoyed to be back. But somehow, I felt like I spent the entire day grieving the loss of another life I had started. I couldn't get the dream out of my head for months after. It was so vivid. It was so real. I experienced every day. I woke up, went to work, slept, dreamed, loved, cried, and everything else we experience daily. I do not know what sort of psychological episode I had, but it was real to me. All of it was real. So I decided to write this. So I remember for years to come how time is not a simple thing. It can twist and turn and change realities, while we are left victimized by things we cannot control or understand.